The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
You know, we're just talking about the government is trying to convince you that they're on top of things. They lost the 2 Chechens. And you have to ask yourself, why did they lose them? They had them.
Because
they knew.
Interviewed the older one.
Mm-hmm. And the younger
2009
one.
or 10 or something. And, both of them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They had them. They told Russia to watch them. Now, the question is, why weren't they watching them?
Yeah.
Why weren't they monitoring? When they saw the extremist stuff going on, why did this one kills me. They had these guys. They interviewed them. And for some reason, they lost them. And then when they lost them so desperately, so far out of their system, that the same organization in the same area, this isn't like the Minneapolis guy, this is Boston FBI. Boston FBI interviews them. Boston FBI then stands up at the microphone last weekend and says, do you guys know these guys? Because we don't know who they are. Can anybody tell us who these guys are? They know. You mean the guys who were in your office? The guys you warned against to Russia? What was that all about? What is that? You knew who they were.
Mm.
Why didn't you knew their addresses. Why didn't you just go pick them up?
And as for the Saudi national, I love this line that, that's another guy with the same name. Really? Are there that many Abdul Rahman Ali Al-Harbis running around Saudi Arabia?
Al-Harbi. Whenever you hear...
You go to the phone book and you look for Ali Rahman Al-Harbi.
The names are so long, too. How long is the phone book? It's got to be like the
really
size
big.
of a tower.
The deal is the last 2. Once you see Al means house of.
Mm-hmm.
So it's House of Harby. So it's not like Glenn Beck and then there's a whole bunch of Becks.
Mm-hmm.
When it's
it
the
means
house
something.
Of. Yeah, it means house of or tribe of Harby. And it's a very, Saudi Arabia is not like the United States. They're very tight tribes.
It's not like if there's a Beck, there's a good chance you're not related to him.
Right.
In Saudi Arabia, if you're an Al-Harbi, you're related.
You're related.
Yeah.
You're related. So if it's not that guy, it's somebody related to that guy. But they're not even saying that. They're not even saying that.
Can you confirm if in Saudi Arabia IHOP is International Al Pancakes?
I can confirm that.
That is true. Okay.
Yes, okay. I can. Let me go to Beth in Tampa, Florida, who called her congressman. Hello, Beth. Beth, are you there?
Hey, Glenn, how are you?
Very good. Did you call your congressman?
I called all of them. I went down the whole list, and I got to Bill Nelson, who's a Democrat here in Florida, and when they answered the line, I said, basically I'm calling. I want to make sure that he is looking in or wanting to find out about the Saudi national, the deportation, is, he pressuring. And she said, I'm sorry, we don't get involved with anything that's a conspiracy theory.
Oh, my gosh.
I said, excuse me? I'm a constituent calling you, and that's what you said to me? I was in shock. I didn't know what to do at that point.
Well, here's what you do. You call them back and say, could you please, I was a little taken aback by your conspiracy theory. Could you do me a favor? The House Committee on Homeland Security, the leadership, has documents, and write this down, an event file, a 2123B event file on this Saudi national, and they have the documentation. So could you please mount a campaign against those members in Congress who are claiming to have falsified documents and are using them in this time of tragedy?
Okay.
See what they'll say, because they won't.
I'm going to do
it. Please do. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is fact. This is fact. The congressman in the that head the Homeland Security Committee have the documents in hand. All that Bill Nelson has to do is go down to one of these congressmen and say, "Let me see that documentation." They will show it. I can't show it to you because I don't have clearance to show it to you. They do. So all they have to do to know it's not a conspiracy is go right down and look at that document. That's it. So don't let them get away with conspiracy theory. And if they want to do that, don't be rude to them or anything. If they want to do that, Just remember, what this says is you have a congressman that is not just playing politics. I mean, people say, oh, I'm going to play politics. You know, how dare them play politics with such a tragedy? That's what's happening. I don't care if it's a Republican or a Democrat. They are playing politics with your security. Americans would have never put up with it after 9/11, but we've been so beaten down now that we will put up with it. Don't put up with it. You make sure that you do everything you can, because that congressman, and I don't care what party, that congressman, that senator, that person who is in charge of any kind of security, they are putting you and your children in grave danger because they are turning a blind eye to the real threat of Islamic terror in America that is here. And your congressman is involved in it, at least by just closing his eyes to it.
And all these explanations are so lame. They're not even. They come to the Blaze and they say, the reason he wasn't in Ohio instead of Boston, where his visa was supposed to be for Ohio, is because he filled out all the paperwork for a transfer. Then we check for the paperwork of the transfer, and there is none.
They can't produce it.
They can't produce it.
They can't produce. And the university or the school says there is no paperwork on that. He didn't file.
And
he
then
didn't show up. He didn't file. So where did the DHS get that information? Because the school is telling us that's not happening. That didn't happen. He didn't file. He didn't show up. And when they're called on that, then they go back to, well, it's two guys. It's just two guys. I don't know what happened to that guy.
And they're so incompetent that they don't even know where the guy is now. I mean, you've gone from a 2123B status.
I do.
The worst terrorist that we can classify you as, to we don't have any idea where he is now.
I do.
Yeah, we don't even know anything
He's
about
in
any.
Riyadh.
We don't know anything about any of the people in this story, with the exception of they keep buying dates. The only thing we know is the exact fruit they buy, but we don't know where they are. We don't know how they got designated as a 2123B, one of the highest level designations of terrorists. How did that happen? Can you explain that designation? Can you explain it? Explain it to us. How did that occur?
Now, is the guy who bought dates also 2123B?
I don't know.
Let me go to Lisa
Figs
in Alabama.
would get him there, but
hello, Lisa. You call your congressmen and senators?
I called Senator Sessions because he's on subcommittees for immigration and homeland security.
Mm-hmm.
And the person I asked, about the Saudi national issue, and they told me they had not heard of it. And they asked me where I had heard it. And when I told them, they said, oh, that's just one of those hysterical internet media things.
Mm-hmm. Lisa, you know exactly where Senator Sessions stands then, or at least his office.
it's surprising from
Definitely.
Senator Sessions, isn't it?
I'm not surprised by anybody who's been in Washington for a long time and has been around the Muslim Brotherhood and dismissed the Muslim Brotherhood and dismissed CARE as a friend. And I don't know if Senator Sessions has or hasn't, but when you're in Washington for very long, you're on both parties. You are convinced that the king of Saudi Arabia is your friend, and they would wish us no harm, and the Muslim Brotherhood is good, and CARE is good.
Let me ask you this: when you work you work somewhere for a long time protecting the country, do you get used to getting kicked in the teeth over and over again by the government? Because I'm interested to see how the FBI takes getting kicked in the teeth by DHS and Janet Napolitano over and over again, claiming that they're completely incompetent. That's not my impression of the FBI.
No, not mine either.
I wonder if someone in the FBI is hearing these accusations about their incompetence
And getting pissed
off about it, because that's how I would feel about it if I were in that situation. I would love to hear. I mean, I guess maybe we never will, but maybe somebody has the balls in the FBI to say, you know what, I'm not going to take this because they shouldn't be taking it.
No, we're very early on in this game. Just remember, Washington, that this is exactly the game they played with that crazy website called the Drudge Report. And that blue dress turned out to be right now, didn't it?
It did.
Isn't that interesting? And what's really strange is if I'm not mistaken, Matt didn't come out with absolutely everything he had at the beginning, did he? No, he let people hang themselves. That's an interesting concept. Maybe those in Washington should take this seriously. I will tell you now, as a listener, we've done our homework. but we've never had sources inside the government. Have we? Correct me if I'm wrong. We've never had real sources inside. Well, Benghazi we started to. In the last year we have. When we were at Fox, nobody said, I have the smoking gun. I have it right here. Get 'em. Nobody ever said that to us. We have about 10 on this one. We have 10. This is not my theory. This is not coming from me. In fact, I'm the one doing the least amount of work on it. This is not coming from me. My staff hasn't slept in a while. And I would ask that you would pray for my staff, and quite honestly, you would pray for the sources. The sources are being threatened. Let me ask the Department of Homeland Security and this administration. It's so easy to clear up this conspiracy theory. It is so easy. This isn't the birth certificate thing. This has to do with the lives of our children. This has nothing to do with, were you born in Iceland? It has nothing to do with that. This is the lives of our children. You are claiming several things that are clearly not true. You have shown us a pattern that you don't believe that is, in fact, you've stated that Islamic terror doesn't exist. You're now currently, and at 5 o'clock, I would invite you to watch, if the administration, you know what, have somebody go home and get the red phone, because I think we're going to send them the number of the red phone again. The administration should be watching, because currently they're shoveling a whole bunch of something for the mosque. Tonight at 5 o'clock, we're going to show you exactly who this mosque is. This mosque, the media, and this mosque, according to those in the administration and some members of Congress, will tell you that mosque is fine. That mosque is nothing. They were defending Martin Luther King and July 4th. Sure. Really? Because I'm just looking at some pretty damning information right now that's going to be on tonight at 5 o'clock about that mosque. And it's weird because some of the guys at this mosque have connections to people in Washington, D.C. Again, it would be much better for you to come out. It would be much better for you to start opening your eyes, realizing that any mistakes you may have made in the past are only going to get much, much worse the harder you fight and the more you try to cover your tracks. It's only going to get worse for you. Because the American people know. We have 2 Al-Qaeda guys in Canada that were just arrested trying to blow up a train on the way into America. And then we have 2 Al-Qaeda members that were arrested last night in Spain for trying to blow up a marathon, which is weird because that's what happened here. But this one is not Al-Qaeda. This one's not connected to anything larger. This one's not Islamic. This one is, as you say, religious, has religious leanings to it, but is not Muslim extremism. But the others are directly connected to Al-Qaeda. That is so strange. And yet you tell us that you've defeated Al-Qaeda and they're not a threat at all and they're not involved at all. And you've lost this Saudi national. Alyssa in Tennessee, you're on the Glenn Beck program.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
I called Lamar Alexander yesterday. He is giving no comment. Mm-hmm. And then I called Bob Corker, and he told me, his representative told me that it was on his radar. Mm-hmm. And I asked him exactly what did that mean. Was he doing anything actively? He could not tell me what that meant, but it was on his radar. He just repeated that several times.
It's on his radar.
And then I called Diane Black, a congressman, and she was out of town, and her representative said, well, he thought she knew about it. And I said, well, is she doing anything? He said, well, she could be. She's not in the office. And then I called back today because
but is it on her radar?
That was Bob Corker. I don't know what radar means.
I was wondering about Diane's radar.
Well, now, Diane, when I called her back today, because she was due back in yesterday.
Right.
And her representative said that they had evidence now that it was not him. That there was nothing there.
Okay, good. Well, good. As long as they believe the Department of Homeland Security, call them to task. have them show up with the paperwork.
Glenn Beck.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.